Welcome back, everybody. Happy Tuesday, episode 29 of No Brush Required. I'm here, Tamara Grant, with my co-host, Barbara Reed, and I'm going to just grab her. I'm a minute early, half a minute early, but I bet you she's... Are you here, Barb? She's coming on in just a second. There she is.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. How
I
you
just
doing?
dumped water all over my table maybe 30 seconds ago.
Hi, Jamie.
Right in front of me.
Oh, well, guess what I just did 10 minutes ago? I had a rotary cutter accident with my finger.
It's that day I had a paper cut accident. What was it with? It was with one of my materials.
Hi, Benedict. Yes, and you know, my main thought was not for my finger. It was, don't get blood on the painting.
Exactly. So how aside from the art injuries, how are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty darn good. How about you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
We've got lots of friends here today. You guys are saying hello. I saw somebody from the UK, but you went away too fast and I couldn't tell who it was. We've got 27 or 28 on here already. Douglas, how are you from Seattle? There's Nadine. Hi, Nadine. I think we'll have lots of friends on here today.
I think we'll have lots of friends and probably some new folks that we have met before.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Well, hello, Lucy. As we're just coming on, feel free to say hello, send us a wave, tell us where you are today, and I guess we'll just get going on our intro and invite our guest on pretty soon, so he's not waiting too long in the green room munching on bagels or whatever.
I think we gave him some back bacon on a bun with a side of maple syrup, just so he's feeling more like one of us.
All Canadianized.
All
yes.
Canadianized, yeah.
Perfect. Do you want to go ahead and do the introduction while I invite
I guess I can. This will be, kind of a made-up introduction.
Well,
this guy needs no introduction.
I know.
We have somebody that we've been so excited to invite on our show by the name of Rob Szot. I don't know if it goes by Rob or Robert. I guess we'll have to find out.
We'll ask.
We have Rob Szot on, who I guess is now living in Los Angeles, was living in New York City. We want to dive into that more. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Rob.
Good morning from Los Angeles, ladies. How are you?
Oh, and great. Good afternoon from Ontario.
Ontario, the Great White North.
The Great White North.
Yeah, you and I are in the same time zone. I'm on the Pacific Coast in Vancouver.
See, I was wondering why you two had never met. You're on opposite ends of the continent.
Yeah,
we are.
Incredible.
And we met during COVID, so we couldn't really travel and see each other, right?
I would like to get into that. I would like to know how you all met, how you started this No Brush Required, and all the background. I'm absolutely fascinated by it. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you for having me on. I certainly appreciate it. I admire both of your works very much, and I'm looking forward to talking to you. So.
Thank you. Well, we're thrilled that you're here today. So we'll tell you about us later. You get to go first.
Yes, you're the special guest. You might have missed all our art injuries this morning.
Oh no,
Did you catch those?
In the green room.
Were you making your own clothes or something this morning? Isn't that what they use that for typically?
I use it for cropping.
Oh,
so cropping on watercolor paper, and I like
don't crop your fingers, okay?
Yeah, don't crop your fingers. I know.
Good advice. So I don't even know where to start. I have like a whole bunch of notes that I made on you.
Let's let Rob do more of the talking than we do, because they listen to us all the time.
I know, all the time.
It's never going to work. It's not going to work, I'm afraid. I guess a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Szot. I'm currently in Los Angeles. Let me just pop my glasses on here real quick. Sorry, ladies. As I get older, these things become more of a requirement.
We're the same.
We know. We got
the fell off a cliff one day too. But you know, for years and years and years, I didn't need any assistance. But now it's like I just can't see without them. But anyway, I'm currently in Los Angeles. I do a bit of both New York and LA. I was in New York City as a permanent resident there for over 20 years, working as an artist in New York, and I came out to Los Angeles about a year and a half ago. New York is still my home. I'm there about half the year, and I'm in LA for the other half of the year. And it's at a little bit of complication in my life in terms of scheduling and getting, exhibitions and things like that kind of lined up in terms of where I'm at physically. But I've really enjoyed my time out here in LA. I mean, it's not a lot to complain about. It's really beautiful, and it's always warm and sunny. And as much as I miss New York City, I think I found somewhat of a home out here in LA as well. So I'm excited about that. I'm a full-time professional artist. I show with the Anita Rogers Gallery in New York City. I'm with several other galleries across the country and some in Europe. And I'm just like you guys. I'm just a working artist that cuts himself regularly. And
Good.
You know, I always find it a little bit difficult talking about myself because I always default to feeling like I'm sounding a bit boring, you know. So if there are any specifics you want to know about me, I'm happy to answer them. But
we got specifics. We got lots of specifics.
Well, please fire away. Give me some guidance here.
Well, you go ahead, Barb. Go ahead,
I want to jump in with something that you said when you were on Nicholas Wilton's podcast a few weeks ago. Actually, was it a couple months ago, maybe? Anyways, and I wrote this down because I just thought this was so fascinating, and I'd love to hear more about it. So I'm going to read this out loud. You said, "Nothing has made me more excited than painting. Nothing has made me more depressed than painting. There's nothing that has torn my life to shreds as much as painting has. There's nothing that's put me together nearly as completely as painting."
Sure.
That just blew me away.
It's a big statement. It's a bold statement, but I really feel like it's true. I think for a long time, and again, I think this probably applies to most people, that I was really searching for purpose in my life, and it became very important for me to have purpose in my life. And without that purpose, I feel very untethered, and I can shift into almost being useless. So I needed something that I felt passionate about, something that I felt very personally about, in order to motivate me to do it and to make something of myself. And painting it came in late in my life in terms of never having an art education or never being in an art classroom. At the age of, I think it was right around 21 or 22, I just decided that this was something for me after seeing the works of people like Egon Schiele and Mark Rothko, and seeing how these people were able to really express personal ideas in very palatable ways that I understood. And when I saw that, I just felt like there was really something there for me as well. And I just wanted to get started on it immediately. And fail and succeed and fail and succeed and over again, that sort of cycle that everybody gets into. Which I really think has made my life worse something. I mean, not to sound depressing. I mean, obviously everyone's life is worse something, but you know what I mean. Like,
Did you make that decision before you moved to New York, or was that something?
I did, yeah. Okay. I did. I was painting for probably 2 years in Texas. I grew up in Texas, and then at the age of 25, I remember sitting on the couch with my father, and I told him, and my father and I got along great. And I said to him, I said, I'm going to move to New York City and be a painter. And God bless him. The man always had a job. You know, he's a hard worker. He's a family guy. He's a paycheck guy. He looked at me, and with all the sweetest intentions in the world, he said, "Have you ever sold a painting?" and at that point, I had no idea what that would require. But I just knew that I wanted to be in New York, and I wanted to be making art.
But kudos to you for that, not letting that pop your balloon, right? Because for a lot of people, it might have.
No, that was not his intention at all. My father was always my biggest supporter, and somebody I always looked to in the both the good and the bad times, and he was there for both of them. So, so certainly he was a cheerleader of mine for all of these years. So.
That's pretty amazing.
I just lost him about a month ago, so I'm a little.
Oh yes,
I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that.
And during all
difficult.
Yeah,
very difficult. This is kind of an off to the side question. Was there ever something else that you wanted to do before you decided you wanted to be an artist? Just out of curiosity.
I think that's a very fair question, and I have two answers for you. Yes, I for many, many years, my teenage years in particular, I thought I was Hunter S. Thompson, and I thought I was Charles Bukowski, and I wanted to be one of those guys very badly. And again, I think I was drawn to them because I saw an honesty in their work, and I wanted to pursue that. I wanted to connect my work with who I am as a person, and I felt like those two people did it very well. And you know, the drinking and the drugs and the womanizing aside, like it was something that was very appealing to me. And after that, I played in a band for many years. I was the lead guitar player for a rock band for many years. Yeah.
Wow.
Which was fun. It was a little different for me in terms of you know, how you work in a group as opposed to, you know, working on your own. Not that I'm not a difficult person to get along with. At least I don't think I am. But
we'll let you know after the workshop.
Right? Yeah, there might be people that would dispute that. But working in that kind of group dynamic was a little difficult for me. I felt like I was very much the creative force behind the music we were writing, and it's hard to get everybody on the same page sometimes, you know. And so, you know, that sort of drifted on down the stream, and I became an artist. I found painting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the classic group project problem. I hear it from my kids all the time at school.
And it's, you know, I imagine there are groups that work well together, and it's not that we didn't work well together. It just, I think when you're in a room full of creative people, it can obviously sometimes cause problems. I've always been accused of having a big personality, which I think is an underhanded insult, but that's okay. And I think sometimes my big personality, you know, it's not great in a group dynamic, let's just say.
But you're still friends with all.
I think it's great in a group dynamic, but some people don't, and that's
not
all
so
right.
much.
That's okay.
Right.
No, that's fine.
As long as you're still friends with all of your former band.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
No, you know what? I'll reveal something to you that I don't ever. They kicked me out of the band. I got kicked out of the band. Yep.
No.
You know what my problem was, and I'll be totally honest with you. As much as I loved playing music, and much as I loved the idea of being like some rock star, I did not practice enough. It's not that I was bad. I just wasn't very good. And I just, you know, at the time when you're 20 years old, like practice is, it's just not something I really think about a lot.
Right.
You know? So.
Right.
Oh well.
Yeah, and fast forward.
Hey, band guys, if you want. Yeah, terrific.
Well, and it's interesting that you use that word practice, because really that's how we all describe what we do now as artists. Right. How was that for a really cool segue?
Nicely done.
Very smooth. Very smooth. I see an Emmy in your future for No
Thank
Brush
you
Required.
so much.
Great, yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, tell us about your art practice then.
Well, I work every day. I'm in the studio, I think at a minimum, probably 5 to 6 hours a day. It's gotten to the point where I think it becomes almost like muscle memory. And if you don't do it, even for a day, it feels really strange. And I think I'm so dedicated to being in the studio because I feel like, I mean, as hard as I've worked and as much as I've done in the last 20 years, I still feel like it's an opportunity that's been given to me, right? I feel like there's been a lot of earned there for me. Like I have earned a lot of what I have because I've worked hard for it. But I also feel like there are people that work their whole lives and don't have an opportunity to be in the studio freely and to work on a Tuesday afternoon. And I don't want to squander that. And it's almost like an embarrassment of riches for me. And I'm eternally grateful for it. And I think I honor that by making sure that I'm working until I can't work any longer.
Yeah, hopefully
somebody
forever.
asked me. Yeah, well, somebody asked me the other day. You know, it's one of those kind of drunken conversations that you have. But he was like, what's your biggest fear in life? And I didn't even really have to think about it. I told him, I'm afraid that I'll never get as much work done as I want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I always want more work to be finished. And I don't understand really why that is, why I feel that way. like there's something I'm chasing down that I can't really put my finger on, but it is something. And I feel like the only way to get at that something is just to keep working and to keep trying new things and to kind of keep pushing yourself, but pushing yourself in an honest way. You know, I think the thing you have to avoid constantly is gimmickry and, you know, doing something just for show.
Yeah.
You know, it takes the honesty out of it. And I feel like once you end up doing something like that, you're taking people out of your work, right? Like you want them to be in your work as much as you are. And so if you're not being honest with them, I think that that's something that is easily recognizable and it's very off-putting. So.
And it's the hardest thing to do, is to be completely honest and vulnerable. And I would say in the days of social media now, where we're so easily distracted by what everybody else is doing, you know, it becomes more and more difficult to really dig in and find that true self.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about this in the workshop in New York City this fall. How about that for a segue?
Yes.
Right?
We were going to get there.
Oh, we were totally getting there. Yeah.
Well, I just, it's my first workshop I've ever done. So I'm sort of vacillating between like over preparing for it and then really just not preparing for it much at all. Like just going in there in a very raw way and having conversations with like-minded people like yourselves. And just having an open discussion about like what it is we're doing and what it means to us and how we can make it mean even more to us, right? How we can break down barriers even further between who we are and what we produce. And that's really been my lifetime goal, even though I really suck at explaining it. Like I couldn't sit here and like draw a diagram for you. It's a very kind of esoteric personal journey for me, but I think the result is that it produces artwork that is unique to your own voice and is really bulletproof in terms of being able to be criticized or put down by anybody because it is your voice, right? And there is a uniqueness to it, and therefore there's a beauty to it as well. Am I sounding too philosophical? I mean,
no,
think.
This is how we roll. And we're going to meander around. We'll get back to more specifics of the workshop too. But one of the questions I know we both had was, I think both Tamara and myself are really influenced by our environment, and that comes out in what we paint. Now you're living in two completely different environments. Do you paint differently when you're in LA versus New York?
You know, I don't think so, because I don't feel any conscious influence from really anything when I'm working. My inspiration and my drive comes from the actual doing of the work, like being in the studio and making those decisions and fighting the composition and fighting the color, and really fighting with who I am as a person. That's where I feel like most of my inspiration comes from. I don't think there's ever been a time, consciously anyway, where I feel like I've been influenced by physical location or people or something I've read. It really, being in the studio is it's like being in a vacuum in a lot of ways for me. I'm here for a specific purpose. I get into a very specific mindset when I'm in the studio, and I just let things happen, right? And I don't hinder myself by saying, well, you can't use this color because you're not feeling that particular way that day. It is really very much in the moment. In a lot of interviews, I've described my process as being kaleidoscopic in the sense that one move opens up 5 or 6 other moves, right? And so you're very much in the moment while you're working. People have I almost should accuse. People have not accused me of anything. People have mentioned to me that my work has changed since I've spent time in Los Angeles. I personally don't really see it that way. I just feel like my life is evolving, and so my work is evolving. Right. Yeah. I don't necessarily think it has anything to do with location, even though, look, I mean, it's beautiful here. There's no question about it. But I'm able to separate, I think, myself out of those kinds of things. And so environment the short answer is no. Environment's never really been a great consideration of mine.
But
I love living in the city, and I love living in New York, and I love living in Los Angeles, but that's where my external joy comes from, right? Those are the times I'm not in the studio. I'm like, oh, I'm really happy to be here. It's like you have to come full circle in your life like that. You have to have your happiness at work, and then you have to be able to step outside and leave everything behind and enjoy yourself wherever you're at.
Yeah. So good advice.
But we did have a question actually earlier. Somebody was wondering, when you're not painting, what are your other interests? Because obviously on the West Coast, you've got different opportunities for interest than you would have in New York City.
This is where things are going to get a little bit strange.
Okay.
I like to watch reruns of 1980s Price is Right with Bob Barker. Awesome. That's something I enjoy doing. There's something nostalgic about it for me. It always makes me laugh. The hair, the prizes, the clothing. I mean, who wears pantyhose underneath jeans anymore? Like, that's something you see a lot of.
But we did.
Who wears pantyhose anymore, period? I don't think anyone does.
It's incredible. But my TV watching habits aside, I mean, I've been to the beach several times since I've been here. I live in a very nice neighborhood in Los Angeles next to Griffith Park. So going up to the observatory is beautiful. Right. I have a car that looks like a tennis shoe now. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I like to drive it up into the hills to see all these houses that I can't afford, and just marvel at how people live, I think the other thing that's been really remarkable out here is just the fauna and just the diversity of plant life out here. It's inexplicable. It's like being in a science fiction film. You expect a dinosaur to walk out of the trees. It's marvelous. It's
a bit different from
beautiful
New York.
In the ocean. Yeah, well, I mean, New York, I love New York, and New York will always be my home. I miss it. I miss it like I would miss, I don't have any children, but if I had one, I feel like I'd miss it as much as New York. I just think it's a marvelous place to be. It is such a great place to kind of make your bones as an artist, It's exceptionally difficult. It's expensive and inconvenient, and it could be absolutely just mind-bogglingly horrible at times, but you end up growing into the city, you know what I mean? And it's like, all you want to do is add back to the history of that place. Like you go there and you take all the history in the first decade you're there, but then a switch gets flipped, and then you want to become a part of that history. And it's like, I don't know, it's great. We're going to have so much fun.
We are.
It's going to be great.
I'll tell you my guilty TV watching pleasure. I watch Billions. I'm hooked on Billions, which is in New York City. And so you get to see inside all the beautiful, big, fancy buildings.
Sure. I'll tell you what, I don't know the guy's name. He's how they have the two main characters, the older guy and the younger guy?
Yeah.
That younger guy, he's a great actor. He was in this series called Band of Brothers on HBO, where he played he went from like private to major or something like that during the course of the series. Really great stuff.
Damian Lewis. And he played Brody in Homeland too, and that show was
I didn't see that. No, I hadn't seen
Claire
that.
Danes. That was
so
an
much
awesome
Price
show.
is Right to watch that it's hard for me to kind of get.
Well, he gets turfed. Well, I won't say he gets turfed, but he gets replaced by a different billionaire in like the last season. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just get ready for that.
It's not as good.
Bummer.
Anyway. We could have a full show on that alone.
Instead of a workshop, let's just talk about TV. When we meet each other in New York, we'll just talk about television.
Oh my God. Are you a movie buff?
I am,
and I don't mean current movies, like old 70s, 80s movies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Why, do you have something you could recommend to me that I may not have seen?
No, I'm just when you start talking about watching The Price is Right, what I do when I'm not, I am just love any movies from the 70s. That decade where everything changed in cinema. But that's
like early 70s. Well, yeah, like Taxi Driver, which was late 70s, which is a terrific film. My favorite movie, hands down, is Glengarry Glen Ross. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I love that movie. I think his name is totally slipping my mind. Shelley Levine. I know his character's name, but damn.
This is what happens.
Wasn't that Jack Lemmon? Jack Lemmon. Thank you. He was like every man. He's always every man. Yeah.
If you go to his gravesite here in LA, you have the gravestone, and it says Jack Lemmon in, and then there's nothing else. It's just the ground after that, which I absolutely love that. It absolutely cracks me up.
I think
Good
you
for
need to take
Jack.
a photo of that.
Oh,
That's great.
Look it up. I'm sure there are photos.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's great.
Probably, yes, you're right. So, well, why don't we talk a bit more about your workshop then? Because we're back to New York City. And so some people who are watching will know, because Barb and I have talked about it on here a couple times,
Right.
the fact that we're super excited to be coming to New York City this fall to participate in your workshop. And you can tell us a bit more about it.
Well, now, first of all, I'd like to address some concerns that you have that I've seen on some previous episodes. You're going to use acrylic paints,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
you're concerned that we're going to be very oil heavy, which is understandable. Again, I'm planning the workshop and not planning. You know what I mean? I'm sort of in between there. So it is true that I'm going to be demonstrating some techniques that I have come up with oil paints. But it's also true that I don't think that is going to hinder your participation in the actual workshop. What I really want to do is I want to kind of foster an environment, again, where there's a lot of dialogue, that hopefully I'm able to impart some of the things I've learned in the last 2 decades. Excuse me, I shouldn't be drinking soda while I'm... Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
I picked up this great cup at Goodwill yesterday, the San Francisco Examiner Cup. That's
Oh,
good one,
nice.
right? Yeah. So I want the workshop to be very dialogue heavy. I want a lot of active participation from the people that are there. I want a lot of back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to be able to take something away from the workshop that is deeply rooted in my experience of being an artist in New York City for the past 2 decades. The other thing I really want to do is I want to work in the same room with people, right? And
Yes.
I want you to see how I do things, and it's entirely up to you if you want to try and incorporate some of those techniques into your own work, or if you just want to kind of freely work on whatever it is you're doing, and we can have an open discussion about that while that work is happening. Now, I know it's only a 2-day course, so getting a lot of work done is going to be a little bit tricky. I mean, especially for me, my paintings take forever. But I think the 2 things that I really want to see happen is I want people to have a good time, and I want them to learn something. But I also want them to feel like they're getting value for coming out to New York and
Right.
for being in the same room with me and for putting up money to be in the workshop. Like, it's important for me that people feel like they're getting, at least at a minimum, what they wanted to get out of it. I think beyond that, I want people to get more than that. I want it to be an experience, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about, the difference between the oils and acrylics, I don't want you to feel like that's going to hamper your experience, or at least I hope. And if it does, just tell me, please. Just say, can we just do it?
I've
Robert,
decided. I've decided I'm just going with it. It's something. It's something new to learn. I'm not going to worry about trying to figure out how to use the medium ahead of time. I'm just going to come and experience and do what I can.
And I'm going to do my level best to not say the F word a bunch of times, and I'm going to
go right ahead.
Come on, we have to control ourselves here.
I'm going to be on my game. And I'm just excited about it, and the response has been great, and you guys have been great in promoting it, and your excitement for it has really bolstered my own excitement for it. Really, like I'm a little nervous about it because I've never done it before, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really do.
Well,
Robert
we have
Szot,
3 other friends. We have 3 other art friends in our community who are coming. So they'll be.
I know that Rena's coming, right?
Rena?
Nadine Johnson.
Nadine is coming, right?
And Joanne.
I've been keeping up with you
Joanne
guys.
and us.
And Joanne, okay.
We actually started a little message group because we're so excited. We've got our flights. We've got our hotel booked. We're going to actually stay for 6 days. So we're coming, a few days early and staying a few days longer. And we are all going to try our hand at oil paint.
Well, I have my solo show opening at Anita Rogers Gallery that Wednesday. The reception is that Wednesday, the 7th. If you guys are in town, please feel free to come as my guest. I would love for you to come to the opening. I wanted to tie the workshop in with the new show because I think it would round out the experience of saying, like, look, like, here's some practical applications. Here's some practical applications with your life and with painting. And then this is the result, right? Like, this is, you know, this is my result. Like, here's a new show that's opening up in New York City. Now, if you can't make it on Wednesday and you come in later than that, I would like to take everybody from I've talked to Anita and she said that she'd be perfectly happy to host everyone that Sunday to the gallery. They're closed on Sundays, but they're happy to open up and we could have an even broader discussion about what it means to be in a gallery and what it means to foster gallery relationships. And we're going to talk about all that stuff, like stuff I'm really serious about. Like, I'm really serious about all of it. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are struggling with sales and struggling with gallery representation. And it's a very common thing. And I'm certainly not claiming I have all the answers, but I hope that I could offer some guidance just through my own experience. Because 20 years ago, I was out humping a book of slides to every gallery in the Lower East Side that had an unlocked door. And, you know, I was not welcome and I was turned away, you know, 9 times out of 10. And you know, here we are now. So there's a lot of stuff in between that I think will be valuable to people that will definitely be going over stuff.
Your gallery is in this call, and they said they're looking forward to hosting us on Sunday. Because I think we all arrive on Thursday, don't we?
We're coming in Thursday,
Coming in on Thursday, okay. So, and listen, like, you know, I'm perfectly happy to go to galleries and museums with you guys if you're out.
We're like, putting together a list.
We have a list, and we have a countdown going.
After Wednesday, my responsibilities to the gallery, I mean, they don't end, but they certainly get a bit more minimized, and you know, my time won't be co-opted as much. But yeah, I'll certainly have some free time for sure.
That would be great because
we need to go and get really drunk somewhere in New York City. Yeah, terrific. Yeah,
that's the plan.
We'll all get on the train drunk again.
That is the plan.
Just like old times.
especially appealing when there's somebody there who knows which train to get on.
Oh yeah, and which train not to get on. That's the more important one.
I have good stories about that because I went to school in New York.
Oh,
back in the early 80s when it was a scary city. And I have a good train story, but I'll save it for the workshop.
Perfect.
Talking about getting on the wrong train.
We could swap train stories.
We could. We could.
We've got a whole bunch of questions that are coming up in the question sticker. Okay, let me just tap on and see. Okay, Nadine's question was, can we use acrylic instead of oil? But you've answered that. We're good on that.
Absolutely.
We're good on that.
I want to get oil sticks. Like, I'm going to go to you recommended Soho Art Materials.
Yeah.
And
I'm dying to get Soho Art Materials, and I'm going to have them put together like a quick package. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things that I recommend. Like, I paint on linen here in the studio. And I know they make like smaller linen canvases. I want people to have the experience of painting on linen. Like, it's really has done something for my own work. So I'm going to have them put a little package together that I think would be easy just to go in. Like, here's the price and just take it away. You know what I mean? But anything else you need, they've got it. It's a great shop. My best friend Lewis still works there. I love Soho Art Materials, so shout out to them. It's great. But acrylics is absolutely fine. Again, I want you to come in there and feel relaxed and feel safe and feel like, look, this is a place where I can do what I want to do and take in what I want to take in and have the conversations I want to have. Like, that's what I want people to feel like. It's not some rigid, I mean, I will have a ruler that I will be slapping against the blackboard really hard every time people get it.
In case we're out of line.
To be in New York and to be around other artists and to be talking about things that I'm passionate and serious about feels like such an opportunity to me that I don't want people to feel pressured or weird if they don't do things exactly the way that I do them. I'm there for you guys. I'm there to make it fun and to make it informative, and that's really it. That's it.
I don't think that people that we know that are coming are looking for a paint by numbers workshop on how to do something. we
Not
all
at
have
all.
good.
our
I'm glad
own
to hear
ways
that.
of doing things. We
Yeah.
want to incorporate ideas and
Yeah.
and
So
other
please,
perspectives.
that's really important. Like, I really want to make sure we get that across. Like, come as you are, bring whatever you're going to bring. There'll be a package at Silver Art Materials. If you want to get it, get it. But just, it's going to be great. I mean, come on, it's New York in September, and the show's up, and I'm
You have
excited.
no idea.
You know, it's
We
going
are
to be
so
fun.
excited.
It's going to be fun.
Is the
A couple of
workshop
Canadians
full?
are coming down.
A whole pile of Canadians. Is the workshop full, or do you still have space?
The last time I checked, it was a little over half. I think they're going to cap it at 20 or 25. And we're getting close to that number. I haven't checked in with them in a while, but it is it's something that we're approaching. Like, I didn't want to make the class too big, because I just didn't want to get lost in it. You know.
I think we were within the first 5.
I think we were the first 5.
Looks like Lisa asked, "Will I be doing this workshop again?" You know, it is definitely something that I would be happy to revisit. Having not come from an academic background. I need to feel like I know how to operate something like this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be able to pull it off successfully to my satisfaction, which, look, I set a very high bar for myself, and I always have. And so if I could reach that level, certainly this is something I would definitely revisit. I love meeting people. I love to talk about stuff like this. So
Hey, you
I'm
had a
happy
question.
to meet.
We had a question from Kirsty Matheson, an artist friend of ours in Glasgow, and she wanted to know, following up on that, you didn't go to art school. Did you take any courses, or were there any specific art courses you ever took that you might recommend to people?
The only art course I ever took was about 2 years ago, when I wanted to learn how to do aqua tint and acid, like etching. And the only reason I took it is because it involved chemicals that I wasn't familiar with, and I thought, I'm going to end up drinking something that I'm not supposed to drink, so I probably should.
Like those etching materials.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I bought an etching press, and I thought, well, I probably should have used it. But it was over at the New York Academy, right? And it wasn't even a class, really. It was just a bunch of people in a room with access to materials.
Right.
And if you grabbed something you weren't supposed to grab and you didn't know what it was, you could ask the guy that was eating a sandwich over in the corner, is this stuff okay? And he would just be like, yeah. And then that was it. That was a class, which is great. I love that. That's perfect. Yeah. I mean, just be there to make sure I don't burn the house down, and I'm fine. Yeah. Like, everything else take care of itself, right?
So your approach with courses has been more to, if you want to learn something specific, materials based, as opposed to taking a big art course.
I can never, I have a real problem even imagining having somebody telling me I'm not doing something correctly. You know what I mean? I mean, short of like putting my own life in jeopardy or other people's lives in jeopardy, I prefer just to be left alone to kind of make my mistakes. Yeah. And there's really nothing like burning your fingers on a stove to know not to touch the stove again. Yeah. And that's good lesson. Yeah, right. And so those lessons are very lasting. And I think if you make mistakes and you learn from them, you don't forget them. And so I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about art school. I'm sure it's fun and people are great. But again,
it's
I
fun.
think it's that community, it's that community stuff that I'm just like, okay, I'm happy to be a part of a community, but you know, like, let me just kind of go do my work, you know.
But that's,
I've never been in a critique or anything like that. Can you? Oh God.
Oh,
can you imagine being in that? Oh no, thank you. I'm
it's
all right.
like it makes you sick to your stomach. Makes you sick.
No, I'd rather not. I've been critiqued by strangers for the last 20 years. I don't need a professor doing it.
No.
No. But it's so refreshing that, you know, for people who've been doing this for so long, to admit that they don't have an art pedigree.
Well,
in terms of, you know, an MFA, going to school somewhere. I don't have that, and I call what I'm doing is getting my own self-directed MFA. So I'm picking and choosing what I want to learn and experimenting. And
well, I'll be honest with you, it was to my detriment, you know, in the first 10 years of working in the art scene in New York. Not because I wasn't good enough, but it's because people want you to be from Yale. They want you to be from a certain school. And you make connections with upper echelon people in those schools that are very difficult to make outside of the school. And so if you don't have that pedigree, or if you're not known in those circles, look, like it or not, people look down on you, and they don't look at your work as being serious. I remember from one of my first solo exhibitions in New York, I was told to lie and say that I got a pedigree from Yale, that I went to Yale painting school. And I remember looking at that person and I said, why would I do that? I mean, I was 27 years old and I don't understand. And there was no explanation. It was just like, no, you need to do that. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start out lying to people.
Yeah.
Please.
And that's
You're
for the
gonna get
collector.
found out.
That's not.
You're going to
You
get
will.
found out.
Yeah. And then good luck
Like now.
explaining that. Yeah, right. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I went to Harvard painting school.
Us too. We went to Harvard, didn't we?
Exactly.
I teach it.
Different spelling though.
So Bonnie asked, I'm just going to throw Bonnie Nelm's question up. She said, so with zero painting experience or education, how did you begin? It's a great question.
Yeah.
I remember very distinctly. It was 1999. I was in Italy with my brother John, and I saw Egon Schiele's work for the first time, and other German expressionist paintings. But his work to me really struck a chord because, you know, when you look at his subject matter is what it is, right? It's very brutal. It's very kind of real life for the time he was in. I mean, 15-year-old prostitutes are never like something you want to hang in your kitchen. But like despite the kind of brutality of the subject matter, like there's such a beauty to that work. And the sense that I got immediately was like, how is someone able to express this point of view with such a small vocabulary? And what I mean by that is that you have a little bit of gouache there, like a pencil line there. It's very uncomplicated stuff, that exceptionally powerful and really, really hit me, right? And so, you know, you do what you instinctively do. You start copying Egon Schiele, right? And you're in Rome and you're doing these very bad Egon Schiele-esque portraits, and they look like garbage. And certainly you don't try and pass those off as your own work, right? Like you're practicing, right? You're practicing. And you're allowing yourself to practice, and you are allowing yourself to be bad at something and not being so critical of the final product and, I can't do this because you're such a perfectionist. You know, no, you can't do that. You have to really learn to release this self-doubt that you have. Like that really is step one. And those kind of heady days in Rome and back to Texas after that, I found myself kind of secretly doing that work and really enjoying it as bad as it was. And I remember that year for my birthday, somebody bought a book of Mark Rothko for me. And I didn't know who Mark Rothko was. I mean, and then here I was faced with an even sparser language, just a block of color, right? Seemingly anyway, which I mean, I know better now. Like it's not just a block of color, right? I mean, that's years of a person's life that you're looking at. And you could feel that. You could feel the passage of time in one of his paintings. And I'd never experienced that before in my life. And of course, just naturally drawn to that, thinking, I could do this. I mean, you know, I almost said F, sorry.
Go right ahead. Let it fly.
Yeah.
I can do this, right? I can do that. I can do it.
Yeah.
But of course, the reality is that you can't because you don't have the experience and you're just mimicking.
Yeah.
But it's good practice. It's good practice. Just don't pass it off as your own work. Just let it go to the side and then move on when you feel confident enough to kind of get into the deeper waters of who you are and what it is you're trying to express with your artwork. Those things are super important, and they still are to me. Like I look back at those old paintings and drawings, are all in the attic of my parents' house in Houston, and it's not a laugh. I don't look at them. I don't laugh at them. They're sweet, right? There's a sentimentality there, and it's like, I remember being like, I mean, I'm still an idiot, but like I remember being even more of an idiot back then, you know, and so after that, I painted in Texas. I never had a show. I never sold anything. Probably a couple of years. I was working as a computer programmer for AT&T. So I was making truckloads of money programming internal web applications for them. I bought a house. I had a car. I had a girlfriend, and I just thought, all I have to do now is just dig a hole and lie in it, right? Like, you know, that's how I really felt. I mean, no offense to my girlfriend at the time. She was wonderful, but I was so profoundly I don't know if it was boredom. I was so unfulfilled, and just day after day of this. And I started having panic attacks, and I didn't know why. Like, it really started kind of really affect me in ways that I didn't even realize. Like, but it was around that time I said, you know what? I love New York City. Everyone that I love in terms of art, people that I feel like I know personally but have been dead for 30 years, they all made their way in New York City.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a part of that group very badly. And so 25 years old, I sold my car for $1 to my girlfriend. I packed up my house and I moved to Brooklyn. I lived in an abandoned warehouse on an army cot for almost a year.
Wow.
Next to a defunct Sweet and Loaf factory across the street from the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And it was wild. Oh, it was just, I mean, it was wild. It was wild. The times were, 25 years old and just completely unleashed and ready and fully convinced that I would be on top of the art world in 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, that was the bravado I came into New York City with. Here I come, New York. I know you've been waiting on me.
Yeah.
I know you've been waiting on. But you know what? That's a consequence of me always believing that I can do anything.
Yeah.
And
you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And that's probably
a good thing.
Like, you don't do that kind of thing in your 40s or 50s. That you do that in your 20s.
No, I want to advocate for people to do that at any age. I really do. I mean, look, I'm not married. I don't have any kids, but that was deliberate. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get tied down to. I love children. Both my brothers have kids, and I love them. But it's not me, man. It just isn't. And I know people have responsibility, and they have jobs and houses and families that they have to take care of. But you could do these things in a small way. It doesn't have to be an abandoned warehouse in Brooklyn.
On a cot.
Right. It doesn't. It's very cold. It's very cold on a cot.
I bet.
In the winters.
But I think that you can find your voice at any age. I really think you can.
Yeah.
And it's scary, and it may seem completely fruitless at times, and a lot of days you don't want to turn inward and look at yourself like that. There are a lot of days that I'm just absolutely fed up with it. But it's a journey that you're on, and again, I think I'm fulfilling a purpose that I've somehow manufactured for myself. You know what I'm saying? It's like people are like, oh, I got to go find that thing that's out there. But I don't think it's about finding. It's not out there. It's not waiting for you. It's not.
But I think
you have to create it.
That is everybody's life journey. That's the whole purpose of being here on this planet, is to figure out what it is that lights you up and that you can give back to the world and share just a little bit of that.
For sure it is. And look, you are an individual, right? And that's your power, okay? And you have a voice, and it's an important voice. You have to define it. You have to refine it. You have to make sure it's exactly what you want to put out into the world. And that may take years and years of working unheard, unheralded, unheard. Henry Darger was a janitor in a high school in Chicago. And when he died, they found all of his work in his little tiny studio apartment. And what he offers the world now, after he's lived and gone to wherever you go after you die, it's like, there's so much value there, right? And so his voice continues. He carries on in that respect. And listen, it's not about legacy building. It's not about living past your years for me. It's not. But what it is about is me standing in front of that painting, Easter Monday by William de Kooning at the Met, and thinking, I know that person. And there's some of that in me as well. I know him like I know myself. And that when you can make that connection in front of a Francis Bacon painting, and the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you can't explain it to anybody. Like, God, like I really I want that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want my work to talk for me to other people in that same way. And I
Long
want it
past
to
we're
be
all
that
gone.
way.
Yeah. That's that I think you did talk about that a little bit with Nick too, and you talk about creating singularities. Like you have the ability, the power to make something that nobody else can make in the same
Exactly.
way. And and there's so it is something you can do forever. I always picture myself dropping dead standing at my studio table. Hopefully a bigger studio.
That's what the workshop is titled, You Forever. That's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
This is like, this is you, and this is you forever. This is me forever in this little jail cell of a studio I have in LA. Like, and every day is a great day. And I don't want to go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate getting older. I can't stand it. It's just like, God, I mean, there's just not enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least you started young enough.
Oh, I don't know about that. I kind of think, God, if I could have started this at 10, it really would have been somewhere, you know.
Well, I didn't start painting till 50. So I did nothing artistic till 50.
It's an extraordinary story. It really is. And it must make you, I don't know, it's got to be like this thing that you're doing it so you're happy, but you must be like, oh, like where was this when I was 15 and 20? Like, and I don't want people to pass that up. You know, I tell my nieces and nephews and they think I'm a lunatic, right? My nephew's 20, my niece is 16. I got another 3-year-old niece. Oh, she's so cute. And they all think I'm crazy because they talk about, I'm like, guys, seriously, like get out there now and find it, you know? But it's also okay to find it later. But I think about like my squandered youth sometimes, and I wonder what I could have done with it. But that's okay. It's all right.
No regrets.
We have this perfect moment together right now. You know,
yeah, no regrets. Right. I always figure we are where we're supposed to be at that time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that for sure.
If you don't believe that, you're just going to suffer.
And there's no point. There's no point in looking back and kicking yourself for what you didn't do, right?
Well,
like, why did you
not suffer? No. I advocate for suffering too. Please suffer and kick yourself and do it. You should hear me in the studio. My neighbors think I have Tourette syndrome. I just curse up and down and just yell at myself. And
I guess I mean not letting it keep you from moving forward. So if you get into that rumination where you just flagellating yourself for not doing the things that you didn't do earlier and it's keeping you from doing it today, then it's not helpful.
Just wrap your whole life around the smallest idea you possibly can and foster that idea and nurture it. And it's the most important thing in the world to you. And your whole life should be absolutely subservient to that idea. And look, I mean, it may make for bad relationships and you may not have children but you've got that little ember that you've just warmed your hands on for the last 20 years, and it's great. I mean, for me, it's great. I mean, I can't really speak for other people, but I certainly want to encourage people to be brave with their individuality and just embrace it. You are who you are, and you have a voice in this world, and it's important. And maybe nobody will ever hear it, but at least you will. You know what I mean? Like you'll hear it.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to have more conversations about this in New York City.
No, that was the workshop. We did the workshop. So don't workshops canceled, guys. You got it all in an hour.
Are you kidding?
I have a non-refundable plane ticket. So
and we're still showing up, by the way. So
I
get ready for
the workshop in the bio of my Instagram.
Okay.
So if people want to see it, it's there. You know what would be fun? Like, are there any people that want to jump on and can we talk to anybody or no? You can't do that.
What's our time? We lose our recording if we go past 60 minutes, right, Tamara?
Yeah.
And I've already had people say, is this going to be available to watch later? So we're going to be shot.
You have 7 minutes. You have 7 minutes. Just put somebody up there. I don't know. I think it's funny.
Rena, do you want to come on?
Rena, get in here.
Oh, Rena,
come on, Rena.
Come on, Rena.
I'll invite Rena on.
Have we ever had 4? I don't think we've had 4. This is a first.
I just invited you, Rena. You better pop on. She declined.
Is it Rena?
She must not be home. She declined. She declined. She's not home right now. I don't know.
It's Nadine. It's Nadine.
Nadine.
Nadine, are you here? Oh, I don't know. I got another question.
Right.
Let's see what our question is. Oh, here's a question. This is practical. Best way to transport oils on a plane.
Yeah.
Oil paints.
Without them exploding.
Buy them in New York.
In the
Call
bag.
your airline,
Buy them
man.
there.
I don't know. Call your airline. Don't ask me these questions. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Sticks.
Yeah,
Well,
but
sticks
oil
is
sticks, they don't dry very rapidly. And
No.
we're going to be using, I mixed my little painting medium here. It's like a very low, non-toxic medium that uh-oh.
Hi, Rob.
Nadine.
Hi, girls. I just say hi. You've got like 3 minutes, so
We got 3 minutes.
If that, we got to be ruthless. If we lose this, it will be devastating.
I can't wait for you, New York. The conversation was incredible. I'm looking forward to the train ride and the drinks and
The bagels.
The bagel.
Bagels.
Yeah, you owe me a
Ugh.
bagel, Rob.
God, what have I done? Now I have to go buy stuff.
We
Oh.
all
yeah.
want bagels now, and I would like cream cheese, please.
And
No,
a nice
listen,
cup
you're
of
getting too
espresso.
complicated. You're getting a
That's
raw
fair.
bagel, uncut, probably
Raw
a day
bagel.
old. Just accept it, all right? That's what you're getting.
That's okay. Okay, fantastic conversation. I'm going to leave you now.
Looking
Wonderful.
forward
All right.
to seeing you.
Yeah, take care.
Chat with you soon, Nadine. Thanks.
Bye.
I like being up in the top row
Yeah, it's pretty nice. We need to do foursome again.
because I'm always covered in comments.
I know.
My
Yeah, the
head
hearts
during
and
the
stuff, right.
call is
Sorry,
comments.
guys.
Well, before we wrap it up, let me just say thank you very much. I've really enjoyed myself today. You guys are great. I'm super looking forward to meeting you in person. It's going to be a fun time in New York. So anybody that feels like they want to join us, certainly the link is in the bio on my Instagram page. And really, guys, thank you for having me. It's really been a delightful conversation.
Well, thank you for saying
Thanks
yes.
so much for being here. Anybody who's been asking questions, I will save this as long as Instagram doesn't do their magic behind the scenes and make it so that I can't. But I have another way. So, and I will link up Rob's Instagram on the comments. So the show notes will always be there. There'll be a little bit of a description of what we talked about today so they can find you, Rob, and they can find the link to the workshop.
That's great. And do you want to, like, we could edit it there and stop? Are there questions that people have, or we got to go? I don't know how it works, so.
Why, do you want to come back on? Oh, because that's
I
going to
can
take...
answer. Well, whatever's fine. I mean, if people can listen, my Instagram is open to everybody. Just send me a direct message. I'm super accessible. I'm happy to answer anything.
Well, we could always have another conversation.
We
I
can
would love
invite
to,
you
of
back.
course. Oh, yeah, please
Next
do.
Tuesday, we're free.
Are we free?
I can do Tuesday.
Seriously?
Let me double check. I don't think we have
Okay, look
anybody.
fast, Tamara. It's
We don't-
almost 58.
We don't have anybody booked in on the 29th. Let me confirm. But if you want to come back and answer questions, we'd
And
love
maybe
to
we
have-
can have people come on too with us.
I think that would be really fun, actually.
Oh,
I would
okay,
enjoy
so-
that. Yeah.
So book it in your calendar. You're our
Oh,
next
hold on.
guest.
Let me write it in my calendar. Okay,
Rob
it's in
Szot
my
part
calendar.
2.
My
I'll
calendar's pretty
message.
open.
I'll message you after.
Yeah, please. But yeah, that'd be great. So we'll see you next week.
Awesome. All right, guys. Have a great
All
day.
right.
Ladies, have a great
Happy
day.
Tuesday. Thanks
You
again.
too.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.